And good evening, and welcome to the Raleigh Municipal Lighting Plant Board of Commissioners meeting for September 9th, 2015. As a reminder, this meeting is being audio and video recorded digitally. Our first agenda item tonight is Citizens Query from 7 p.m. to 7:10 p.m. Hearing no queries, we will move on to item 2. Review and accept minutes from previous meeting. Has everybody had a chance to read those?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any questions or comments?
None.
I looked it through and it looked fine to me. How about you, Ken?
No, I didn't see any problems.
Okay. I'll accept the motion.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor of accepting the minutes for August 5th, 2015, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Bob.
Chairman?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Agenda item number 3, Raleigh Generation Project. I know you put some stuff out on an email,
Yes,
Dan, and
I made copies of it to have for tonight.
thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
I'll just give you a minute to look over that really quick, and then we'll kind of go through it. All right, if you want, we can just go through this. We'll go through page by page if you want.
Okay.
This is information that Roger Cotty has given me in relation to the generation project that we've been talking about here in Raleigh for quite a while now. Actually, it's been a number of meetings. It's been 6 months, a year now we've been talking about this. And Tangent proposed a generation project to us, and along with that, they proposed a lot of numbers that, you know, looked very good and looked the saving service model and the cost, capital cost purchase, all the numbers looked really good. But it was the board and my feeling that we should have those numbers analyzed to make sure what they're representing to us is, in fact, closer. You know, I mean, the right word to say, you know, I'm not sure what it is, but you know, I don't want to say the liars were false. No, the numbers were false, but we wanted to do our due diligence
Exactly.
and make sure these numbers were close to where they should be.
Yeah, just get somebody else's opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
And Roger has gone through most of the information that Tangent has provided us. And I have an optimistic feeling about it, but there are some issues we'll talk about as we go along.
Okay.
So the first page, the first two columns to the left have just total forward capacity market and transmission charges is the first column. And he projects those numbers out from 2015 through 2025. The second column is total forward capacity market and transmission charges less the 2 megawatt generation, which means if we don't do anything, the first column is what it's going to cost us. The second column, if we put the 2 megawatt generation in, that's what it's going to cost us. And you'll be able to see down the bottom the difference between the first two columns.
Mhm.
So it's roughly a $5.5 million difference between the first two columns. And he represents that in the graph on the same page. So, I mean, that kind of a baseline of if we do nothing, it's going to cost the Raleigh Light Department and its consumers a good amount of money
Mhm.
if we do nothing.
Wow, that is a big difference, isn't it?
Yes.
Sure
Mm.
it is.
Any questions on the first page? The second page, Roger did an analysis, and he does original tangent consumptions in the first two columns, a more conservative assumptions in the second two, and even more conservative assumptions with no transmission benefits in the last two columns. To the left, you'll see the titles of the different columns, and just we'll start with line 1. It just says includes LNS and RNS transmission benefits. And what LNS is local network service
Mhm.
charges, and RNS is regional network service charges. And both of those charges represent a large amount of money in Tangent's proposal that we'll talk about further about the risk involved in that. So you'll see that the original tangent assumptions included those two. The second one includes only RNS transmission, as you see by the two red yeses. The last one doesn't include any transmission at all. And then Roger believes that the price that that Tangent is giving us for this generator is almost too good to be true. And it is a good price, and Tangent is getting a special deal from the manufacturer of the generator. But Roger wanted to be conservative and put the actual number of what he has seen for purchases of
Mhm.
the same generator set in different municipalities around the state. So that's why you see the difference in the two numbers on the next line. It says increased capital cost from A to B. So it's basically $1 million more. So I mean, he's being very conservative in his approach
Mhm.
to viewing all the numbers that Tangent's giving us.
Yeah. Wow.
So the next line down is reduced LMP energy cost from Tangent's proposal of $223 per megawatt hour to $57 per megawatt hour in year one. And he has since revised these numbers. He had another consultant who used to work for Taunton Municipal Light, who basically ran the locational module pricing model for us. And what that did is it told us every hour in the last 2 years what the price was going to be,
Mhm.
how many hours a generator would have run, because it would have been what they call in the money,
Mhm.
which means the cost to run the generator was less than what we were paying for power at that particular time. So which means if we, in hour 12, the LMP cost was $100, when it only costs us $50 to run the generator, we're going to run the generator at $50, and then the other, basically, it not profit per se, but it's money, it's revenues for us. So, and he was very conservative with his LMP numbers, and So that remains to be updated, and by no means this is not a final version of the study yet, but he's still working on that. There's still some assumptions we need to work on. He also increased the gas prices, as you can see in the next one down. There's a question of whether or not we'll receive like a commercial gas contract from National Grid, or whether we'll be what's the word he used? But there's two different prices depending on which contract we would get from National Grid. So we still have to work those numbers out and find out which contract we'd actually be under. That's gonna add a little bit to the cost of running the generator.
That depends on how much gas usage.
I'm not sure actually what that depends on, if we bump into the next level or not. I'm not sure what that depends on. If we tell them it's a generator, they may say it automatically goes to a certain,
Certain rate.
yeah, certain rate, right.
Okay.
At the bottom two rows, the estimated cumulative net economic benefit, that just gives you the original tangent proposal, what the numbers were, the more conservative assumptions in the next two columns, and then the more conservative assumptions with no transmission. And the numbers that really stick out right now are the last two columns, the bottom two rows,
Mm-hmm.
they're negative numbers. They're red numbers. And what that means is that even after 10 years, if his assumptions are true, that generator will still not be paid for. That is why there's still questions that we need answered as far as what those numbers represent.
And that's based on a 10-year benefit, right?
That's based on a 10-year benefit. I mean, it may push it to 12 or 13 years. He didn't go farther out than 10, but in different conversations with him, he's thinking it could be 12, 13
Yeah.
years.
And basically
All depends.
tangents was about 25
It
years,
was-
right?
Their payback, or the unit would have been paid in year 6.
Year 6, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then returned over to us in year 6 as a paid unit, basically. So, and that's a reason why, I'll move on to the next page and then we'll talk more about, what I had mentioned in the email. The next page just represents, a lot of numbers. It just gives you basically a lot of backup for what Roger's doing. He takes the years in the far left column, and then he takes the summer peak load, winter peak load, the load for the FCM, and then he takes the charges that are known for those particular years, goes across, figures out what those charges are going to be, so that he can use them in his model, basically. And I guess the column I really want to talk about is the total annual total annual transmission columns. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like fifth from the last column. That's $16 million over the next 11 years in transmission charges. That's a big chunk of change.
Mm.
And you know, it's, well, I guess I'll talk right now about it because we're kind of at that point. In conjunction with Roger's study, I've been talking to Chris Pollard, who is with Rubin and Rubin. He's basically our energy lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a discussion, and I forwarded you a memo, which I didn't bring here tonight, but I forwarded you a memo from him
Yeah, I did see that.
talking about reconstitution risk.
And I guess the question is, what is reconstitution?
What reconstitution is, if we decide to put this generator in, it's a 2 megawatt unit. Say we want to reduce our local network service or regional network service transmission peak. which is what they bill us on
Mm-hmm.
every month.
Yeah.
So we decide we think it's gonna be a transmission peak day or peak hour when we run the generator. What reconstitution is if our peak was 10 running the unit, they say, well, you're not supposed to run that unit to decrease your transmission peak. They add the 2 back in. So you get to, instead of 10 on the meter, it's 12, because that 2 megawatt generator was running. That's reconstitution basically in a nutshell.
So you can't win no matter what you do.
On reconstitution, no. In the local network service, from Chris's belief, will be reconstituted. That's not the biggest chunk of the transmission bill. The RNS is.
And so I saw the difference between the two, and I was like, when I read his memo, so I figured something like that was going on.
He and he's looking into this right now. We had a long discussion actually at the annual conference. I had a long discussion with Chris. Our RNS. See, we're let me start over. Rowley is a local network service customer of National Grid. We also have regional network service through the ISO.
Mm-hmm.
Well, most municipalities that are larger in size and are connected to a certain portion of, and I don't want to get into too deep the connection point, but a lot of municipalities are connected at PTF, which means they don't pay LNS service charges to National Grid. So they are strictly an RNS customer. Those customers can put generators in behind the meter and not worry about reconstitution because they are an RNS customer. We're an LNS and an RNS customer. So what Chris is worried about is that he thinks reconstitution may apply to both. And that's why I pointed out the two numbers on that other page. If that did happen, it'd probably be a killer for the project. But I don't see where it could. I don't know why they would reconstitute us on both. You know, on LNS and RNS. There'd be no reason for it.
Mm.
I mean, they're not reconstituting somebody else on RNS, but they're going to do it to us. I don't know why that would happen. But I'm sorry. Do you?
Well, when it comes to reconstitution, is there some way that municipalities like us can go before? It's got to be what Congress is the dictating these reconstitution.
It'll be FERC,
Hmm?
the Federal Energy Regulatory
Right.
Commission. So, and that would be. I don't know if that's a battle you want to fight.
Yeah.
Can get very expensive. And be dragged out for a long, long time.
Well, yeah, we're dealing with the federal government.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to say either way what Chris is going to come back with.
Mm-hmm.
But he's due to get back to me fairly quickly with something to talk about the reconstitution for LNS and RNS. He was pretty clear in the memo that I sent you about LNS. He feels that's
That's a definite.
that's a definite.
What he's
We're going to be
saying, yeah.
reconstituted on the LNS portion of it. So, and Roger really does he break out the LNS and the RNS in here? Yes, he does. On the last page we just talked about, in the middle of the page is 2 columns.
These two, right, yeah.
It says annual RNS transmission charges per
Mhm.
kilowatt month, and then annual LNS charges per kilowatt month. You can see the difference in the prices. I mean,
Mhm.
basically it's almost double.
Yeah.
Then if you look, hopefully, did he break them out? No, he didn't break them out further. I was hoping he had a total in the columns that addressed how much it would be for each. Because definitely the RNS is, we pay probably $60,000 a month for transmission to the ISO.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that's a lot of cash to the ISO every month. But that's kind of, where we're at, Roger is basically not on hold, but we're kind of, I said, before you go any further, I want to know what this reconstitution risk is. If it's both RNS and LNS, I says, you know, we're going to, the board and myself are going to have a discussion about what we want to do.
Yeah.
What is the talk of reconstitution kicking in?
I'm sorry.
When is the talk of reconstitution kicking in?
It would happen immediately if we put the generator in, and our transmission LNS was knocked down by 2 megawatts. They'd add it back in.
Right away.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah. That's a no-win. In their world, it's a no-win for the muni.
We're trying to save money, and they're
Oh, yeah. They're gonna keep you from saving.
Yeah.
going to keep you from doing any kind of
No,
generation.
if the generator was behind a customer's meter,
No issue.
nothing.
No issue.
So you
Nothing.
start a company.
We want to park a 2 megawatt generator behind your house.
Behind your house. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but anyway, I'm waiting. Roger and Chris have been very working close together on this. Chris is basically right now trying to nail down that part of it. He's also Tangent gave me an MOU, which I had mentioned to you, a memorandum of understanding. Tangent was hoping that we could execute that tonight. I have not got it back from legal yet as far as their review, so that's not even really on the table for tonight. Chris has that right now, so as soon as he gets that back to me, I'll definitely forward it along to you. And you know, if things come together quickly, what I may want to do is have an emergency meeting to basically to talk really quick about the final study and have Roger and Chris there, so that we can all sit down and then Roger can give us his analysis. Chris can talk about the risk of the reconstitution, and then we can, you know, we can either sign the MOU or we can go about our way.
You would think the government would want us to have, you know, extra generation to alleviate, you know, problems within the grid. But you would think the federal government would be trying to foster this. I know.
Looks good on paper.
Yeah, looks good on paper.
So questions?
So in other words, there's not enough municipalities doing this.
Not enough small municipalities, and that's the key right there. It comes down to a sizing issue. We're one of the smaller ones that's, I think, looking at putting generation in. I believe like Taunton's probably doing it. Middleborough, I think, is doing it. Reading is looking into it. Peabody, I think, is looking into it. But those are much larger systems. They're an RNS system instead of an LNS system. They don't fear the reconstitution of which makes the numbers work. It makes everything work.
Right.
You know, that's kind of where the sticking point is. And Tangent is adamant about they're taking the reconstitution risk. Well, they are. If you look at their numbers, they are they're
They've got it calculated in there.
what happens is Tangent gave us the model calculating the LNS and the RNS transmission savings in the model. Well, what happens is if we don't realize those savings, say we get reconstituted, we don't realize those savings, we don't pay Tangent, there's no money exchange there. The problem is we end up in this contract for a much longer period of time. So originally the payback was 6 years.
6 years.
When you take say they reconstitute us, there's no risk to us there, but we just now increase that payback out
13, 14 years, possibly.
possible.
So the payback to the customer would be 14 years from now.
Be minimal, yeah. I mean, units like this, with the amount of time they run them, you can get probably 30 years out of it, 25, 30 years out of it. So, in the end, would there be a benefit for Raleigh? Most certainly. You know, it's just a matter of,
How much that benefit is and what it's really gonna cost.
right,
And these are just preliminary figures to begin with,
Yeah.
so.
yeah.
And I noticed one thing on the one at the top of the pages here, it using 3.5% as interest. I mean, we don't know where that's gonna go between now and then.
Right.
That's right, too.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if we, and there's no, I mean, if we did decide, you know, say everything worked out good and everything was good and, we decided to do, let's say, you know, and I told Greg this, I'm like, from Tangent, nobody is set, there's not set in stone whether we wanna do the shared savings model or the capital purchase model. We're gonna do what's in the best interest of our customers. So if the study from Roger comes back and says, well, you know what? The capital purchase looks a lot better than the shared savings model. Yeah, I mean, it pushes out the timetable a lot because capital purchase, as you know, there's a lot of paperwork, town meetings, you know, going out for RFQs, RFPs. It just lengthens the whole process out.
Yeah.
And Tangent is not necessarily guaranteed that they're gonna win the project because it's a competitive bidding project, and whoever's the lowest qualified bidder would get
Right.
the project. So. National Grid.
Well, make sure you get a shout out.
MLCC2 Operation Op 4 number 1 due to insufficient capacity. So, so that's kind of where we're at. We're kind of not in a holding pattern, but we're just we're waiting for more information. And Greg is he's been very good, but he says, I can't guarantee you that this unit's going to be available. And that's the reason for the MOU. If the MOU is signed, then basically he'll guarantee us that price on that, and that unit will be yours if you sign the MOU. Well, I can't in good conscience sign that right now because
We don't know where we're headed.
we don't know where we're headed, and we don't know if this is going to work for us today. Tomorrow, maybe it will. Today it's not. We're not to that point yet.
Okay. Well, we get a better picture.
I would say within the next week.
Okay. Well,
So I may, like I said, I may call an emergency. I may email you or call you and say we need to have an emergency meeting.
sure.
Next available date, and have Roger and Chris come in, and we can go from there.
Have an extra meeting rather than an emergency meeting?
Depending on what we need for time, I mean, we could. Emergency meeting doesn't need to be posted.
It's only 48-hour notice
Yeah,
at that point, so. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but
we'll see how we can.
Yeah, so we can do an extra
Yeah,
meeting.
if I can just post it, and we have and everybody's schedule works, and we're good to go, then I'll definitely go that route rather than the other way.
emergency makes it sound so much
Yeah,
more dire.
no, I
you
know.
what I mean?
So if you look over the information later, you know, when you get home and you're looking for something to do and you're looking at all this information, just
I know.
send me an email or give me a call tomorrow, and
Okay.
we'll kind of walk through it a little more.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so that's all set on the generation
Yes.
part of it, Dan? Okay. So we'll move on to item number 4 on the agenda, which is operations, maintenance, and capital budget update.
Eric, do you want a copy?
Yes, please.
I was hoping you were gonna get up. Thank you. Hang on, whoop. Capital, thanks. All right, I'll hand out the capital one as well.
The only one's coming close on the capital is poles, thousand fixtures,
Yeah, and that's all the work we've been doing on Main Street.
Main Street poles, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Poles and the guys changing the poles over and,
yeah. So, that's not bad, I mean, we've only got 3 months left, so
yeah, yep,
it's not like a town budget where you gotta go to July.
no. And you can't go over a certain line item, what's been appropriated.
Right.
That's the budget for the street lighting is, we budgeted 25,000, and we're so far 14.
14,000, yep. And we're getting ready to purchase some more fixtures.
Okay. And those LEDs are gonna drive the price down.
Um,
Well, yeah.
they're efficient, but they're pricier
They're
than
pricey to put
than
up,
the older
yeah.
style lights, yeah.
But the long run will.
The long run will save
Good
money,
deal.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't buy them for $38 like we were doing the other ones.
No.
No, actually, they've, I got an email from, I think it was Graybar Wesco, they're discontinuing, some lines, 400 watt HPSs, and they're starting to discontinue some of the lines
Oh,
because
wow.
of LED fixtures.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, the federal government stepping in. I mean, we were dealing with T8s,
Mhm.
and then we went down to T5s, but now they're gonna eliminate the T8s by 2018. You're not gonna be able to get T8s anymore.
No,
So, I mean, it's just, every time they give you a half-decent fixture, that's what these are. These are T8s.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you get a notice that 2018, we stop manufacturing them. So you think you're doing something great and getting a good light and being able to meet the requirements, and all of a sudden it disappears.
so if you want, we'll start at the second page of the budget,
Sure.
and we'll take a look at that. Everything looks pretty good. There are 2 accounts that are over already, and basically it's maintenance of underground lines and maintenance of line transformers. And what that is basically from the very harsh winter we had last year.
Mm-hmm.
We had a number of, well, as the snow finally thawed, we took stock of what we saw in these developments, and there was a lot of fiberglass pads that we had to replace. Transformers were moved, so there was a lot of labor involved in resetting transformers, redoing fiberglass pads, replacing some secondary handholds,
Mhm.
because during the winter they were either knocked off, damaged. So I mean, that's basically the reason for the overage in that account. We're looking to put flags on the critical ones, so they'll, flag kind of similar to
Mhm.
a hydrant flag, so they'll see them in the wintertime. Hopefully avoid this in the future.
Good idea.
And we could talk to particularly the highway guys and let the contractors know that, we need to have them keep an eye out for that stuff.
Mm-hmm. But everything else, if you have any questions, please ask, but everything else looks pretty good for
Mm-hmm.
right now. I mean, this is pretty much 6 months out of the year.
I mean, the purchase power supply doesn't look bad at all. The
No,
purchase power,
Yep.
It's good.
considering.
Right,
I
and
mean, actually, it'll go up a little bit now, but with
Mhm.
the income will come in also. So.
well, it won't go up a whole lot because, believe it or not, July and August weren't that pricey, because the way New England has gone, I think we might have talked about this before, but New England has switched over to gas-fired generation mostly. Well, in the summertime, gas is cheap.
Very
Yeah.
cheap.
So
It
the
is.
power plants are running. I mean, we had wholesale power cost 3 and 4 cents
Wow.
during the summer. It hasn't been that low in years. So, I mean, you're gonna see our cost, and that's what we were buying in the open market. So a lot of our stuff is locked up, but what we're buying in the open market has been fairly cheap. So what you'll see is that it'll affect our purchase power number.
That's good, Jim.
And,
It's looking good. And we're over halfway, and we're just a little bit over half spent.
Yep.
So.
so the front page is basically just a culmination of the back. And you can see just by the bottom line, we're actually have a profit. We've budgeted for a profit of 58,000 for the year. We're actually at 136 in the black right now for the year. That number will change. It may go up, it may go down, but more than likely it'll stay pretty close to the same for the end of the year.
Excellent.
So and I'll adjust the rates to make it so either up or down,
Yep.
so that we maintain that right around that number.
Very good.
Good.
So, capital budget. Everything looks good. There's a few things that aren't on there yet. The new chassis that we purchased isn't on. You won't see that yet because that was done in August. So that's not on here yet. Some of the metering equipment at the station isn't on here yet, so that'll make that the 362 number go up. But as far as everything else, we're actually low in a number of different categories. Like overhead conductors are actually a lot lower than we should be. It's just a matter of we just haven't purchased any overhead wire to date. But everything else is definitely within range.
How much more we have to do with poles, towers, and fixtures, or is that gonna be the end?
There's some work that needs to be done still, so that account will probably go over a little bit.
Okay.
It's right now we're working on Main Street, trying to replace a lot of the poles that need to be replaced. We're replacing them with probably poles that are 5 to 10 feet higher than what was there.
It's pole spacing, as you well know, Bob, from your experience in the field. It's
I've seen, I've gone around town and I've noticed that a lot of those poles that,
double
would stick
poles.
out to one of us,
Double poles.
Yeah,
But
they've been replaced.
Spacing is
Mhm.
getting critical these days because of all the stuff that's going on.
We got a lot more
Yeah.
conductors and
Well, you got
you
private
got
fiber
a bigger
optic
class
companies
of pole
coming
you
in
have to
and
put
doing
out there
things.
and
Yeah.
taller because of the 13/8 that you're counting and everything.
Yeah,
And
voltage.
especially at this latitude, we have to have a larger class of pole. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's always an interesting calculation.
yeah, I remember going through pole school for that. Calculating
ice
what
load,
latitude you were and
wind speed,
wind.
ice buildup, and
you take a ride down to Cape Hatteras and that just opens your
Yeah.
that's a nightmare down there,
you
putting
just,
poles on.
you just go and buy a pole, stick it in the ground. Well, it's a
Yeah.
little bit more than that.
guide that from all different directions.
Yeah. Okay, is there any other questions or comments or whatever on the budgets?
It's good.
Okay, doing a great job, Dan.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Okay, that takes us to item number 5, which is update on lighting Civil War monument.
I think we had talked in the last meeting about, the selectmen did approve
Yes, they did.
the lighting. We've been working on a plan to light the monument as far as where it's gonna come from, where the power's gonna come from, what we're gonna use for lights. Mark and I actually probably gonna take a ride tomorrow to go see what we wanna use for lights. The plan right now is to, there's 4 cornerstones
Mm-hmm.
around the monument. What we'll do is probably locate the lights next to the cornerstones. That way they're out of the way of mowing the grass, people tripping over them. So we'll mount them right next to the cornerstones. 4 lights shining up at the monument. LED, of course. Just trying to gauge what size light we need in order to do this in such a way where it's lighting up the monument enough to see it, but not affecting traffic or
Right.
anything like that. So.
And shielding the, the light going up and.
Yep. Yeah. So, but it should be, within the next week or two, we'll definitely make some more progress on that.
Good.
So it's
Okay.
been a little warm lately. The guys have been on kind of working out in the mornings as much as they can, and then in the
Sure.
afternoons they've been mostly in the shops.
Just
It's
to
been
remind
so
the
hot.
people that this is the 150th year of the ending of the Civil War, so, and the monument is it's a great location on the common, and
Mhm.
it's just something we should remember. Those men that came from Raleigh went south to fight the war.
Yep.
Okay. And agenda item number 6 is water tower primary replacement project.
You might be aware of that the town, or not town, well, the town or the water department is,
Well, I think it's between the town and the water department
Okay.
and the roadway that's going up there.
the roadway has basically been washed out
Mhm.
a number of times. It's I don't know if you've been up there lately, but Mark and I have been up there a couple of times. Actually walked up to the top of the tower.
I used to do that once a month then,
It's a good walk.
to read the meter. I didn't want to send the crew up there to read the meter, so I used to do it myself.
The
And I would wait for a nice, warm, sunny day. And then it was a little tough going up, but it was really fun coming down.
yeah, yeah, and it still is. So we actually had a meeting there today. It actually worked out good. The representatives there from the engineering firm that the town and water department has hired. There was a number of different departments there. We just made our voices heard, Mark and I, about what we want from the project as far as, and what we're gonna do in relation to the project. Right now, going up to the top of the hill, there's 3 ducts and a number of different manholes. There's a set of manholes for telecommunications and a spare pipe
Mm-hmm.
that run up the left-hand side, and right next to those there is manholes and 4-inch conduit for primary that goes all the way to the top, that feeds the transformer at the water department and all the cell equipment
Yeah.
and the repeaters in the building. The primary was put in 30 plus years ago now.
Well, it doesn't seem possible.
It's
It really doesn't. Unbelievable.
it is an unjacketed primary cable, which means the primary conductor is in the middle, then there's some insulation.
Mm-hmm.
The neutral conductor is exposed to the elements on the outside of the jacket. Though that cable has been known to degrade and the neutrals basically separate over time, so you lose a neutral going up to the tower, so you can lose equipment. So that is what we want to do. But Mark and the crew spent a couple of days up there trying to locate the manholes. If you walked up there, you couldn't see them. They did locate all of them,
Wow, they did.
and some of them were 1.5 to 2 feet underneath.
Deep,
Yeah, underneath the existing grade.
Just been washed out.
Not sure.
It's a combination of that, and they were putting that tower up there in the wintertime. So they kept plowing it with a bulldozer. And a lot of the, I'm sure a lot of the dirt got pushed off to the side. A lot of this
Yeah.
stuff got buried.
So it's been, yeah, some of it's like 1 foot and 2 feet down, and then the pipes are a little bit below that. So what we plan to do is, when the road is complete, because right now, basically, we can't really get a bucket truck to the top of the hill right now. It's dangerous,
Yep.
we may make it up, but the guys may not make it down again.
Yep.
So it's just, what we're gonna do is wait for the project, wait for the road to be done, then we're gonna do the primary replacement project. And it's a little bit of a, I just lost the word I was gonna say. Complicated, because of the infrastructure that's at the top of the hill. The water department needs power up there for the signals for the water pumps
Right.
in order to fill the tanks. The repeaters, I believe, from what the fire chief told me today, are on the generator.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be okay, but it's diesel, so
Mm-hmm.
we can't have an extended outage because I don't know how long the diesel fuel will last in the generator. So that's going to be and the work we have to do is going to be, it's going to be an involved project. It's going to be 2-3 days anyway. In order for us to pull the existing primary out, blow a string out, pull a string in with the old primary, and pull a new primary in, do all the dead ends, everything else that needs to be done.
Those holes gonna be raised?
What Mark and I's thought is that what they do is they make a fiberglass or a steel enclosure. It's called a sector cabinet.
Okay.
And what we'd probably do is take the steel covers off the cement, put our enclosure over the top of it, bring our wires above grade
Yep.
into that sector cabinet, and then continue on to the next one.
Yep.
I made it known that the communications, that's not really up to us. I'm not sure what they want to do with it. So, I mean, it's up to them to figure out what they're going to do. The engineering firm will mark them all on the print,
Mm-hmm.
so everybody will know where they are. It's just a matter of what anybody, because it's really not, I don't know whose responsibility it is right now to do anything with those.
I don't know who owns those.
Well, originally it would have been Verizon.
Verizon?
Yeah.
But
But it's been changed around now because Verizon owned the tower originally.
Yeah.
And now they gotta put anything that comes along, they've gotta accommodate. So I'm sure there's stuff holding there everywhere.
yeah, but Verizon is not even in the conduits.
Really.
Verizon's direct buried up the road.
Ah,
And there's also I believe there's a fiber loop that goes up there as well. So you had the original telecom up there for the towers, and then they ran a fiber optic loop up there not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
hmm.
they'll have to call a dig safe in and see where everything's buried in. So, but
Interesting.
that's kind of where we're at right now, and we not sure when the project's going to happen, but we definitely wanted to do something before wintertime if it.
Is it all possible?
Yeah, maybe we might even go in and put our cabinets in.
Mm-hmm.
That way we at least get that part done before winter, so it's easy to locate if we're up there.
Now, is our part of the operation gonna interfere with any of the other, I know they're gonna try to do some stormwater management measures up there too.
I don't believe so, because Brent was there today, and we were kind of discussing on, basically he was discussing on how they want to alleviate the stormwater problem, because basically the water's just running down the road and
Right.
the road and the road.
Yeah.
So
And
they,
it always has been. right from day
Yeah.
one.
so I mean, basically, the fire, police, and myself, even water, made it known that we need to get equipment up here, especially the light department needs to get trucks that are, 36,000 GVW up here. We need something that we can get up the road.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
went up with Captain Emery
Emery, yeah.
back last January, I think it was, just before the snow hit, the real bad snow, and we maybe got up about maybe 60 feet, and we just, you know, we walked it. It's about 60 feet up the road, and it was so washed out. I mean, it was your ankles were down in the tire tracks. It's got to be the same way as it is now.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and the talk was at the time to move back on the road, when to do the excavation, you know, to clear the shrubs up on the road, and to smooth that road out. So I don't know where that stands. That portion.
I know Brent had pretty much worked out what he thought would be a viable plan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how sophisticated he's made it, but it seemed, when he talked to us about it, we thought it was gonna be probably a good way to go.
Yeah.
To keep the water off of some of the other property owners that are there too. So
Right, right.
that was an issue that was being looked at, that the dirt and stones and everything else is washing down on the other properties.
Mm-hmm.
But I know what you mean. You don't want to go. You didn't want to go up any further than the 60 feet because you don't know if you're going to be able to get the truck back down again.
Right.
I watched a D9 Caterpillar
On
slide sideways down that hill.
No, no thanks.
And it went off as you're going down the hill off to the right side, it went down, across, and off the edge. And the operator sat in there for about 20 minutes before he even got out of the bulldozer.
Was that iced up or just?
Yeah, it was ice.
Iced, yeah.
All ice, because they had a metal track. I got a series of slides, and I was taking pictures, and he's going sideways down the hill. I'm saying, oh my God.
Oh,
So that's where we're at with that.
okay.
So
Okay, well,
it's,
we're making progress.
Yep, we are making
Excellent.
progress.
That's good.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay. So that kind of takes us down to the end of the agenda.
Would like a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
If there's nothing else to discuss, I think we will.
Okay. Give it to you.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.